Hands up if you have some sort of metal in your body. That's me. I do. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope you haven't missed me too much. I'm really sorry I haven't done a video in a while. Far too many videos start with me apologising for not doing videos for so long, but whatevs, let's brush over that. Today I have something a little bit different for you. Over the past few weeks, months, over the past sort of little while, I have seen a rise in videos that are put in the story time category. And they seem to be really popular and people really enjoy them, and I've actually seen quite a few story time videos that are centred around the subject of scoliosis. For those of you that don't know, scoliosis is a disorder. You can be born with it, or it can develop in sort of a young age, or it can develop when you're older. It's curvature of the spine, and I had it. I am here to kind of tell you my story about scoliosis and how it affected me and my spinal fusion surgery and all that jazz. So let's get cracking. So what is scoliosis? Well, basically it is the curvature of the spine. It's where your spine's curved. It can either be in a C shape or in an S shape. I had an S-shaped curve. I'm gonna just stop right here and just say I'm really sorry, but I don't have any photos or medical records or anything. I don't know why I don't have them, but I don't have them. I was never given them. I'm not sure if you maybe need to ask, but it suddenly dawned on me I don't have any of my x-rays or anything like that. So apologies, it's just going to be me talking for 10 minutes, but whatever, so I'm sure you're used to that by now. But yeah, back to the point. I had an S-shaped curve, and the lower curve on the lower half of my back was much worse than the top half. The top half didn't actually even need to be corrected because it was quite slight. I don't know the exact degrees, but my bottom one was quite bad, like quite bad, but the top one wasn't as bad. I had what is called adolescent idiopathic scoliosis, and that sounds really complicated, but it basically means it's a scoliosis that appears and manifests during puberty and during adolescence, rather than you being born with it or it appearing as a child. So how did it come about? How did I get diagnosed? How did I find out I had this weird spine? Basically, I was about 12 years old and my friend was having a pool party for her birthday. You know when you're little, you can do like parties at like your local swimming pool. It was like that. And I was shopping for like bikinis and stuff because I didn't really have any. I never used to really like swimming, so I never really had anything like that. And every single one we tried on, it didn't quite fit me. Like on the hips, one side it wouldn't quite fit me right on one side, and it was really freaking me out, and I was like, why is this not working? And I just figured it must have been the shop we were in. Tammy Girl, FYI, Tammy Girl, who remembers Tammy Girl? And so I just kind of put it down to maybe something to do with the shape of the bikinis, and maybe I wasn't putting them on right. So we bought a few and I went home and I tried them on a bit more, and I was looking in the mirror trying them on, and I suddenly realised it wasn't the bikinis that weren't fitting me right, it was me. And when I looked in the mirror, usually, you know, when you're about 12, you don't exactly have hips, do you? You just kind of straight down at the hips. And I was straight down on one side, but on the other side it kind of came out like just above my hip bone, sort of waist. It came out quite drastically. God knows how I'd never noticed it before. It was one of those things where I'd never noticed, but then once I'd noticed I couldn't stop seeing it. And I was just like, so I went downstairs to my mum and I was like, Mum, it's not the bikinis, it's me. And she was like, what do you mean? And I kind of made a look and she was like, what? Like, so we went to the doctors and the doctor said it could be a bunch of things. He thinks it's probably one leg longer than the other. So he sent me off to the orthopedics sort of section at the hospital for a thingy-majubler appointment, consultation, what would you call that? I don't know. And I saw a doctor. I was at Leeds General Infirmary and I saw a doctor called Mr. Milner, and he was, I think, the specialist in scoliosis, and Leeds actually has like an outstanding orthopedics section or something. It's like I can't remember what you call it when one particular hospital's like really good. I can't remember, but it was really good. So we were quite lucky to live near Leeds, near this, like, I think it's Centre of Excellence maybe, I don't know. And after a lot of x-rays and a lot of time off school and a lot of tests, my consultant said that I did in fact have scoliosis. It was my choice whether to have the operation or not, and I did choose to have the operation. At the time it was considered to be more cosmetic than anything. It wasn't necessarily affecting my health, but that wasn't to say that it wouldn't in the future. So I did decide to have the operation. And after 2 years of actually going for x-rays and MRI scans and contact scans and all these different things, I actually had my operation in December 2007 when I was 14. So that was 2 years overall of mad tests and all sorts. It was, you know, when you're 14, it was actually really scary, like really scary, especially just before the operation when they're having to tell you about all the things that could happen, like, oh yes, you could die, you could be paralyzed, and it's like, oh my god, so terrifying. But I had it done, and as you can see, I didn't die. I'm not paralyzed, so that's good. And I had the operation. It was, I feel like the date was the 11th of November 2007. Don't know why that date rings a bell. It was November when I had the op. And usually, I say usually because obviously everybody is different, but usually they told me I'd be in hospital for, depending on how quick my recovery was, I'd be in hospital anywhere between 6 and 9 days. Tends to be the average. So that was fine. I came out of the op, all went well. I think I was under the knife for about 9 hours in total. They told my mum and dad that it'd be 6 hours, so they were like pooing their pants because I was in for an extra 3 hours. So they were just like, oh my god, what's gone on? Something's happened, oh my god. And yeah, so I had the op, I was under for 9 hours. I think I've only got 1 rod in. I've only got 1 rod. No, maybe I do have 2. See, this is my problem with not having x-rays. I don't actually know the correct answer to this. I think I only have 1 rod, and it goes from right at the base of my spine to about 2/3 of the way up. So it's not the full back, and it's just a little bit more than half. So yeah. After the op, I was put in the high dependency unit, which is where you go. It's not a bad thing, or intensive care or something, I don't know. It was one of the ones where they look after you more because you've just been out of surgery. I was in there for a few days, and then I went to the step below, and then I went on to the general ward, and I had actually quite a few complications with my surgery, so I will tell you about that now. None of it was to do with my actual back. The surgery on my spine went perfectly well, brilliantly. It was great. I was up and walking in, I think, 4 or 5 days. Maybe, and I was a very determined young person, and my nurses loved that. I was quite ballsy. So yeah, I was actually I was progressing quite quickly, but the only problem I had was I kept throwing up, and I don't mean just being sick, I mean I couldn't keep anything down. Like, it came to the point where I would have a bite of a digestive biscuit and I would then throw it up 30 seconds later. Like, I couldn't keep anything down. Liquids, food, nothing was staying down, to the point where I actually ended up just purely throwing up bile. It was just the insides of my stomach, and there was nothing in there to throw up, so it was just bile. So it was damaging all of my esophagus and all my stomach, and no one knew why. Like, it was so confusing, and it was so scary because I had all these different consultants like prodding at me, and x-rays and scans, and it was horrible. And it actually came to the point where I wasn't keeping anything down so much that I had to have a tube inserted in this nostril to go into my stomach, and they would a couple of times a day, they would literally get like it looked like a hypodermic needle, but a big one that you suck rather than push. It was like a suction thingy. I don't know what they're called. And I had to suction the bile out of my stomach probably about 2 or 3 times a day to prevent me actually throwing it up. So that was gross. I've never had a worse experience than having something put in my nose and down to my stomach. It was just horrible. But then even with them doing that, I still couldn't eat anything. So I then had to have a tube in this nostril, go down and bypass my stomach, go straight to my bowel, and they fed me this like super high calorie like milk stuff so I wouldn't like die, I'm assuming. And it was, you know, it was nothing short of terrifying as a 14-year-old girl, nothing short of terrifying. I ended up being in hospital for about 3 or 4 weeks, and they finally figured out what it was, and all of my x-rays were coming out completely clear. They showed no trauma, they showed no like anything wrong at all. And it turned out that I'd actually been born, I don't know how they figured it out, but I was actually born with a twisted bowel. I was born like that, and my body adjusted to it. It was never a problem for me because that's all my body knew, I guess, like that was normal to me. So when they straightened and untwisted my spine, because that's a key point as well, my spine wasn't just curved, it was twisted, so my ribs actually stuck out on one side as well. Once they untwisted my spine, they untwisted my bowel. So on all the x-rays I had an untwisted bowel, which looked totally normal, but little did anyone know it wasn't like that before the operation. So basically they untwisted my bowel, my body went into shock, like what is going on? And yeah, that was that. They eventually, because they sorted it, they could, by bypassing the stomach and going straight to the bowel and kind of feeding me, it eventually just kind of got better and I got used to it. That was terrifying. And I seem to remember a consultant telling me that I'm now in some sort of medical journal because it had never happened before. I don't know how true that is. I don't know if he was just trying to make me feel cool. So yeah, I ended up being in hospital for about 3 or 4 weeks. I came out just before Christmas and I have never felt worse in my whole life. You know, it's painful. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's painful. You have your spine fused together and you've got to then kind of learn to walk and sort everything out, and it's really, really painful. But if you don't expect it to be, I don't know what you're kind of thinking. So I got home after that like ordeal, and I had to have someone with me all the time because I could have got quite poorly, and I couldn't really do everything. Like climbing upstairs was an effort, and like I couldn't even really brush my own hair or anything because it was just so tired, and like it's massive surgery, isn't it? It takes it out of you. I think I was off school a total of 6 months, but the last couple of months I was off, I was in part-time, so I'd go in like 3 times a week rather than 5. My school were amazing. It was right slap bang in the middle of my GCSEs as well, which was a nightmare. I had to take quite a few exams in my head of year's office because my concentration was so bad because of all the anaesthetic and the tiredness and the operation that I had to take it in my head of year's office, and I got extra time and stuff on my exams. I still came out with all A's and A stars though. Yes. What else do I need to mention? I never had to have a brace. I didn't need a brace. Would have done nothing for me before the op. It wouldn't have corrected it, and I also didn't need one after the op because it was so successful, so that's fine. I never needed a brace. And I can't think of anything else I need to tell you from the actual time of the operation. My recovery time was extended because of my complications, but as far as my back was concerned, it was all completely fine, completely normal. I was completely on track. I actually have a massive scar. I will talk about that later. And yeah, that's it for kind of what happened then. So now it has been 9 years since my operation, which is, wow, that's insane. That's a really long time. My camera stopped recording and I don't know where it stopped recording, so that's really frustrating. Now it affects me a little bit, not loads. I can't really sleep anywhere other than a bed without getting bad backache. For example, that's why at festivals I get hotel packages, and why I don't camp. I did it once, I did it at Leeds Fest once, and I had to leave early because I just effectively couldn't walk because it hurt so much. So there are some things I can't do, but other than that, like, I haven't really had any problems. Like, I get backache quite frequently and it does sometimes get quite bad. I can't do sit-ups or crunches because obviously the lower 2/3 of my spine has 0 bend in it. Like, I can't bend it, so I can't actually get myself up off the floor to do that movement. So that's always a bit difficult. Like, if I'm at the gym, I have to adapt quite a few things. I can't really bend over properly. I've kind of got to crouch or like just get onto the floor. And yeah, like I can't do anything that would involve me bending the bottom half of my spine because there is no bend to it. You can't bend titanium rods, so there's that. Other than that, it hasn't affected me too much because I'm not a particularly sporty person. Like, I never had to give up any sports. Everything that I do now is like running and that sort of thing, so it doesn't affect my back as such. If I ever go anywhere like gym classes, I just have to make it aware to the instructor, like I have lower back problems, and they'll help me out and adjust it accordingly. The only two things they told me I couldn't ever do when I was discharged from hospital is skydiving and trampolining. They're the only two things they told me I could never ever ever do. It won't affect having a baby, it won't affect anything like that. So that's really, really good. So the only thing I really struggle now with is pain. Like, I get back pain quite a lot, but I deal with it. I just take some paracetamol and move on. I'm not one to dwell on things. When I was first out of hospital, and when I was a little bit younger, I was very self-conscious of my scar. I will insert a clip here of my scar if I'm not feeling too chubs at the time. If I like the footage, I'll show you. If not, then leave it to your imagination. So as you can see, it starts just next to my belly button here, goes all the way up and round, all the way up and round, and it finishes about, I don't know if you can see actually, it finishes just up, sort of like, I don't think you can see, past my bra, sort of up in the middle of like where my ribs are, I guess. So yeah, that's my whopping scar, everybody. As you can see, it's kind of faded here quite a lot, bio oil, and it's also almost completely faded past here. It does actually go a lot further up, but you can't see it. So this is the only real bad bit now. I will always wonder how they did it from that angle. Like, I don't know how they did that. How did they just like, I don't know. Blows my mind. I used to hate it. It made me very, very self-conscious, but now I love it. Like, I love it. It's like a battle scar. Like, I feel so like powerful. Like, charge. I like to whip it out and show people, so that's good. Everyone's like, oh, what scars do you have? I'm like, bitch. Oh yeah, in terms of how I am now, I'm actually fine. I get backache. I can't camp at festivals. Oh no, what a shame. And I'm just me. I've never really known any different, to be honest, because obviously having the operation at 14, it's quite young. I've grown up with it. I kind of almost forget it even happened sometimes now, which is a bit weird. I just have to be careful. Like, I know what I can and can't do, and it doesn't affect me really at all, which is great. It's fab. Fabby fab fab. I'd rather have a bit of back pain and not be able to camp or do crunches than like have organs potentially crushed. So that's nice. So I can't actually now think of anything that I may have missed. I think I covered everything. I will leave links in the description box to the Scoliosis website and the Scoliosis Research Society, so you can have a gander if you want. It's actually National Scoliosis Awareness Day in a couple of weeks. I feel like it's the 25th of June, but I'm not 100% sure, so I'll leave the information down there as well. If anyone ever wants to come talk to me about anything like that, then please, please, please do. Email me, tweet me, absolutely anything. I'm here for advice, just to chat, swap scar photos, and otherwise, yeah. I hope you really enjoyed the video and a little bit of an insight into my health. And I will see you next week for another weekly vlog. I will see you next week for another video. And please give us a thumbs up if you liked it. Give me a subscribe. And that's it, I think. Yeah. Coming from the girl with metal in her spine. I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.